What if everything you learned about Joan of Arc was a lie? What if the voices she heard weren't madness or miracles, but something far more secret and more dangerous? Joan of Arc is one of the most iconic figures in history, a teenage girl who claimed to hear divine voices, led the French army to victory, and was ultimately burned at the stake for heresy. That's the vision most people know, but beneath the surface of that legend lies something stranger, something far more complex. Because history, especially the kind written by victors, doesn't always tell the whole story. And in Joan's case, the gaps in the record are where the real mystery begins. Let's start with this. Joan was illiterate, from a small village, and had no military training. Yet she rose from obscurity to command armies, influence kings, and change the course of a war. Think about that. How does a poor teenage girl in a patriarchal medieval society gain the trust of hardened generals and royalty? Some say it was divine inspiration. Others say she was a pawn. But there's a theory most people have never heard. A theory that suggests Joan may have been connected to a secret order, possibly descended from the Knights Templar. After the Templars were disbanded in the early 1300s, some of their members vanished. But their symbols, rituals, and secrets didn't disappear. They just went underground. And by the time Joan was born in 1412, whispers of hidden Templar enclaves still echoed across France, particularly in regions like Domremy, her birthplace. I'm probably messing up that pronunciation. I don't speak French yet. But Domremy, by the way, sits uncomfortably close to old Templar strongholds. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Consider this. Joan claimed that 3 figures visited her with instructions from God: Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. But here's the thing. All 3 of those saints were closely tied to medieval warrior cults. Michael, the sword-wielding archangel, Catherine, associated with secret knowledge, and Margaret, whose symbol was the dragon, a recurring theme in Templar lore. It's not hard to imagine that someone or some group used those names as metaphors to train her. Which leads to another question. Where did Joan learn strategy? There are accounts that she directed troop movements, led charges, and even made tactical decisions that turned the tide of battles. That's not something a farm girl just picks up. People spent their lives studying those things. Someone taught her. Someone trusted her. And someone wanted her to lead. There's a chilling possibility. Joan wasn't just chosen by God. She was trained by people who believed they were doing God's will. People who had preserved knowledge long buried by church and crown. So why burn her? Here's where it gets even more interesting. Joan was captured not by the English military, but by Burgundian forces, French allies of England. They ransomed her, and the church, not the crown, took responsibility for her trial. Why? Because if Joan's claims had come from a secret order, a surviving Templar lineage, or worse, if she held relics or knowledge suppressed by the church, then allowing her to live would be a dangerous precedent. And what happened during her trial? Joan outwitted scholars and theologians. She held her ground. She claimed her voices were real, and she refused to recant unless God himself told her to. That kind of defiance, especially in a young woman, was terrifying to the establishment. So they silenced her. They erased the trail, but not completely. In 1456, 25 years later, the church reversed her conviction and declared her a martyr. Why? The official story says it was political. Perhaps it was also a way to control the narrative, to transform her from a dangerous symbol into a saint they could own. Here's what we're left with. A teenage girl appears from nowhere, defeats professional armies, and claims divine guidance. Her saints are tied to warrior cults and ancient orders. She's executed, then canonized by the very church that killed her. And the records? Many were lost or damaged. Convenient, right? Whether you believe Joan was divinely guided, secretly trained, or both, the truth is we'll never fully know. But that's what makes her story so powerful. And as a fiction writer, I love to explore the space between the facts. The idea that Joan might have possessed something ancient, something so powerful, it had to be hidden. Something like a ring passed down through forgotten hands, whispered about in lost gospels, feared by kings and popes alike. Because when you dig through history long enough, you realize the truth isn't just stranger than fiction. It's buried deep, waiting to be uncovered.